Hi, I'm Catherine Diorio. This week on Check Please, data consultant Daniel Wen says you can add up all the restaurants on Argyle Street, but there's only one sensational spot for creative contemporary Vietnamese cooking. But retired art teacher Mary Zavit says you should take your palate to the South Loop and sample sublime service and a memorable meal from the Italian masters. Up first, reporter Claire Lane says she's uncovered some of the best pairings around. For a bevy of beer, bites, and more, head on over to Westtown and stop in at Forbidden Root.
Everybody involved in Forbidden Root is sort of an innovator, and they want to push the boundaries. And so what we do, whether it's through herbs, roots, or spices, or process, or technique, we try to provide something that's different so our customers can have a new experience.
We are the first botanic brewery in Chicago. People are interested not only in trying the beer, but also trying a lot of salty things to get the palate going. We have food that you might see in a brewery or a brew pub, but I think we just take it a little bit further.
We wanted to create a place that was comfortable and welcoming for people to come in and enjoy each other. There's that hygge concept, the Scandinavian concept of being really open and welcome, and we like that. The taste, the experience, the aroma, all of it is something that we're interested in sort of creating a meeting place for explorers and adventurers, and that's what we did.
So Claire, you say Forbidden Root is hopping. Tell us why you chose it.
So Forbidden Root in my neighborhood kind of really did pop up out of nowhere. As soon as you walk in, it feels like a place that you want to hang out at for hours. What they're known for is their botanical beers. We had a weird fruit beer, not weird, but tasty, but unique fruit beer that was a mix of some kind of kumquat and lime.
Oh,
it was
like
a
calamansi whip.
Yes, that's exactly it. So you're familiar with your hybrid fruits. But yeah, stuff like that. They're always experimenting in their kitchen with their beers, with their brewery, as well as with their food, which again is kind of why I like it. You can always get a tasty dish, sort of again a unique dish. They have sort of staples like burgers. I don't know if you guys tried the burger. It's out of this world. But they also do experiment with things like burrata with different sauces or ingredients, fresh salads. We had some lamb ribs that were really tasty. So really it's big and bustling, but it can be whatever you make it. If you want to just have a beer and hang out and have a snack at the bar, it can be that. If you want to have a fancy date night out with a steak and chimichurri, you can do that.
Well, it sounds like the beer is kind of the star, and it is also a brewery. So, Mary, are you a beer drinker?
I am a beer drinker, and we ordered the flight, which was definitely the way to start.
The best way to try it.
Started with that. And you mentioned the burrata. It was so different from what you expect in an Italian restaurant. The night we were there, it was with strawberries.
Did you go on a busier night? Or?
We went on a Sunday evening.
Okay.
We took our granddaughter, who is 21.
Right, perfect. Of legal age.
Right. And we just really enjoyed it. We were, I remember when Chicago Avenue was a lot of different things, not the least of which that was the Hub movie theater.
Right.
And the fact that they left the projection booth up there that you can see. We were seated back facing the door. So it's a very attractive space.
Yeah, we went Friday evening at 7 p.m. So I went with my wife and another couple, and we loved it. So first off, Claire, thank you so much.
Yes.
Because when we sat down, you know, it's such a beautiful place inside. There's those botanicals just on the wall. And then we kept looking around, and we noticed this little like glass window up top. So we asked our bartender what it was, and he explained that it's their spice room. We started off with the popcorn.
I actually had to come home and Google red popcorn. I didn't even know that it existed.
One of the interesting things was the strawberry basil Hefeweizen, that beer. We took a sip, you know, it was good, but then we ate some popcorn and then we took another sip. It was great, like it really did elevate it to the next level. Then we had the andouille sausage.
Was that like a charcuterie type dish that came out, the sausage, or?
The sausage was just like in a little plate. There's like oil around it, and then you just spread it on some toast with some honey on it.
Wow.
It's great.
I mean, for a typical beer place, that's not something you would see on a menu, which is why it is, you know, I think so crowded all the time and has become a staple.
And it wasn't just the popcorn. There was also, they had a interesting take on potato chips. They
pizza
had
potato chips.
Pizza potato chips. The cheese
ramen
pizza potato
jerky.
chip.
Right.
It was they were good too. I don't think you should go without having their what I think of as a pork tenderloin. sandwich.
And it's a large
and
portion.
this massive,
it's huge.
Sandwich falling out of the bun.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't fit on the bun at all.
And good wait staff, professional, friendly, and
very knowledgeable about everything.
Yes.
Yeah. The two women I went with, normally they don't like beer, but they loved everything here.
Oh, wow.
So we each tried all of the different flights, and then afterwards, my friend and I both got a full glass of some other things.
So
as
you're
well.
partying a little bit.
Yeah.
So the restaurant is focused obviously on botanicals and infusing beer with natural flavors. So BJ Pitchman is the actual brewmaster there, and he has about 13 years of actually home brewing experience and kind of experimenting with these different flavors.
Sure.
And then Randy Mosier, who is a beer guru, and he's written 5 books on beer, and he's always been into exotic flavors.
Oh, okay.
And also this idea, again, of having that subtlety so that you can drink multiple rounds of these beers.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, flavored beer, sometimes you have one and you're kind of like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
But these kind of have that subtle, natural flavor, so you can just keep drinking.
Right. Yeah, which is one of the benefits. I mean, you go to a bar, usually you're not just going to have a beer and leaving. So I think it's appealing in that way to a bar-going crowd as well as a dinner-going crowd.
So Daniel, did you guys get dessert?
We did. We got the root beer float.
Okay.
And root beer float is a good option where you can either have it with their beer, alcoholic, or a non-alcoholic
Right.
portion.
So did you go alcoholic or non?
We went alcoholic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
You're already going. Yeah, I haven't had that. Tasty?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really good.
Well, Claire, you chose Forbidden Root. Sum it up for us.
Great food, great service, and just a unique palette of beers.
Daniel?
Forbidden Root has very exotic brewed beers that everyone can enjoy, and then the food to back it up as well.
And Mary?
Wonderful surprise. I did not expect to have that sophisticated menu. The beers were delicious, and we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves.
You can experience the homemade hops and much more at Forbidden Root, 1746 West Chicago Avenue, 312-929-2202. Open for lunch and dinner every day, reservations are accepted, and the average tab per person without drinks is $35. Wen knows there are lots of traditional options in Uptown. But he says if you want to taste what's hot in today's Vietnam, there's only one place to go. Just join him on Argyle Street and stop in at Miss Saigon.
So we are Vietnamese, so we serve Vietnamese food. We try to make the menu small so we can make it fresh every day. And in Asia, you know, when you go there, you can see like one store, oh, we make 1 or 2 types of food, not like 200 type food right here. We try to make it a little bit more modern, so American can accept us. Like right now in Saigon, the food flow grows so fast. Even I go there every year, I still surprised because you know they learn from another Asian country, so they upgrade their food. So I try to bring as much as possible the modern from Vietnam to here.
This is my mom.
Actually, I grew up in Saigon. When I first came here, I miss Saigon, but that word, the whole sentence is so emotional, you know. So I try it, get it back to Miss Saigon, and actually Miss Saigon is me too, you know. I'm a girl from Saigon, so that's the name. It's simple.
Daniel, you say going to Miss Saigon is like taking a trip to Vietnam. Why'd you choose it?
So the main reason I chose Miss Saigon was most importantly the food. So growing up Vietnamese, I had tons of home-cooked Vietnamese meals, and I also went to Vietnam about 2 years ago with my wife. And all their dishes are very authentic. I think you can gauge the quality of a good Vietnamese restaurant by the quality of their pho and the broth. And I think right now Miss Saigon is definitely the best pho broth in Chicago in general. And
Big statement.
Yeah, really.
Another thing I really like about the place is the menu. So you know when you go to a traditional Asian restaurant around the area, you may have to flip through an entire book just to see all the things that they offer. And so when you go here, it's great because I think they really focus on what they do well. So they have a one-pager with a two-sided menu. And on that note, I think it's a great place for a person to begin their journey into Vietnamese cuisine.
I absolutely agree. I think that so many places you see these bewildering menus and you have no idea where to begin. And this was so much easier to see the pictures, and I don't know anything about Vietnamese food.
But you went with someone who does.
I went with someone who does. So my daughter and son-in-law who live here in the city, and his nephew had spent an entire term in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
What'd you guys order?
We ordered everything.
The whole
We
menu.
knew how to say everything. And by the way, I would say at this point, the wait staff, they were very, as we ordered around the table, they were very helpful answering individual questions. But we just had at it. I mean, we ordered the appetizer plate, the different rolls, all of which were wonderful. And then Adam said, oh, we should do a hot pot. So we did one of the big
personal
classic
ones? Oh, the family one?
We just shared that all around. And then we ordered 7 main courses.
Wow.
So somebody had pho, somebody had the crispy chicken, we had the baos.
Yeah, the baos were great.
With the shrimp bao.
It's
and
like a
that
very
did have a
pillowy
lot
I
of
took the
sauce in it.
cilantro out, but maximized the
those
bao
were-
and
Those were
innards
totally
of the bao.
heavenly. They were just like a little flavorful cloud.
Pillow,
and they
yeah.
They were great.
Somebody else had a ramen dish,
Okay.
and it was great.
And lots of the broths have noodles in them, right?
Yes.
Is that pretty customary
That
to
is
have?
very customary.
Okay.
Yeah, and in Vietnam, it's kind of counterintuitive, but when I was there, you go down the street and pretty much most of the dishes are very hot broth.
yeah.
So I was confused, 120 degrees, why are people eating
It's
all
funny
that?
because people always say that, but actually when you eat hot food, it makes you sweat, so it actually cools you off naturally, which is why you'll find a lot of spicy cuisines in places that seem tropical and very humid or hot. So
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We started with the fruit teas, and we had the traditional pho with sliced beef, and then we had the more hearty or just more flavorful. It was almost like a beef stew. The waiter told us that it was maybe like a celebratory dish, not your average.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, something that you would have on a nightly
But
basis.
I'm right, the
yeah,
waiters were really
they
into
were
it, right?
very smart.
And
So
it's a
Dan-
nice looking space.
It's very clean for the
It
area.
is. It's
Modern.
sharp and fresh.
So the first time I was there, I saw this one dish called Mi Co. So growing up, I never had that dish, but when we went back to Vietnam in 2015, we were going down the markets and going down the streets, and then we saw this one street vendor that had this Mi Co dish. And what it is it's basically a dry noodle dish. So there's like a bowl, dry noodles and meats and a little quail egg, and then on the side they actually have a cup of broth for you. So the idea is to take a bite of the dry noodle and then wash it down with the broth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You wouldn't pour the broth in because that would defeat the purpose.
Only at the end you could pour it in and mix it up a little.
And I think the other thing that's different about Saigon is, they're healthy Asian. There's no MSG added, which again isn't always the case. You're seeing more of that now.
Right.
You can actually substitute out noodles for extra vegetables if you wanted to just kind of go gluten-free or noodle-free.
One other modern dish I will point out is, at home we'll eat egg rolls. My parents used to always take the egg roll and wrap it in lettuce just to make, add a little more green to it. So something cool that Miss Saigon did was they actually have the Saigon rolls where it's an egg roll inside a spring roll. So it really incorporates a crunchy and a soft component to it.
Since it sounds like everybody went and ate like kings, what was the price like?
Oh,
It was cheap.
are you kidding?
It was cheap.
My husband was
Everyone
like,
with king for a day.
Right, I know.
something else.
But it was BYOB, so we did not
Yes.
bring alcohol.
Oh, but we brought wine and beer, so
Wow,
we were
so
ready.
you're ready,
We were ready to roll. Yeah.
Daniel, you said you go up to that area about once a month or every couple of weeks. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Asia on Argyle area? Because it's really cute down there.
Yeah. So I would say I think of it as a city within a city. So the good thing about the area is you can definitely walk around after and you can do tons of things in there.
Well, Daniel, you chose Miss Saigon. Sum it up for us.
I'll say come to Miss Saigon for authentic Vietnamese food with bold flavoring and the best soup broths in town.
Great. Claire?
Very clean, very friendly staff, really authentic pho and broths.
Mary?
Delightful surprise, and I'd be happy to go back and eat there again. It was lovely.
You can try the hot pot and more at Miss Saigon, 1129 West Argyle Street, 773-681-5700. Open for lunch every day except Friday and dinner every night. Reservations are accepted, alcohol is BYOB, and the average tab per person is $15. Zavit loves dining out all over Chicago, but there's one spot that's close to her home and her heart. She says for a magnificent Milanese meal, make your way to Printers Row and stop in at Sofi.
I was tired of naming the restaurant after myself, after my mother, my father, my grandfather. I opened a restaurant for the future. My future is Sofi, right next to it. We want them to feel like in Italy, so we stick to pretty much Italian recipe from a long time ago, from my mother. So they should expect like to be in Milan.
I've grown up with this food obviously my whole life, so it's kind of the norm for me. It's amazing because it's light, but it's still beautiful. Like it looks beautiful when you see it.
If you stick to the Italianity of the food and you have a certain kind of Italian atmosphere, maybe a couple also, a few Italian waiters, they can help you.
Sì, sì, tutto bene.
I just want to be friends with them and give them the best I got. Good to see you.
So Mary, you say Sofi is stellar. Why'd you choose it?
I chose Sofi because when push comes to shove, that's where we go for dinner. You get inside and open the menu and you're like, oh, it's the opposite of a boisterous red sauce, heavy cheese, shove it all in a box when you're through kind of place.
Right.
I go there all the time and I seldom come and go without having the eggplant appetizer. They do a beautiful light piece of eggplant, just a little bit of their sauce, and then just a touch of cheese. It's opposite of the big, heavy plates that you get some places.
I feel like we didn't order that only because we didn't want like an eggplant parm.
Oh,
but
well, you
I
got
know
it.
after
It's
we
lovely.
had started eating, we maybe thought,
But-
oh, we should have maybe gotten
But the
that.
tuna carpaccio is
That's what we
beautiful.
did get.
Yes, it's lovely.
It was delicious.
The octopus is lovely.
Okay.
I love that one. That was probably my favorite dish. I think it was charred perfectly. I will say that all the dishes we had kind of lacked some flavoring. I feel like I did put a little salt on everything just to make it a little more flavorful. But overall, like a lot of the menu options I've never heard of, so it's great to try those new things.
It's a northern Italian restaurant versus southern Italian, which is big, bold flavors,
Yes.
Right.
and Italian American, which again is kind of more of those big, bold
Right.
flavors
Right.
because most immigrants came from the South.
Right.
So it tends to be a little more subtle in flavor,
Okay.
which is probably what you're picking up on,
Right,
and
right.
and it just might not be. Something a little salt won't fix, right?
Yeah.
And so you went with your wife. So then what else did you have?
The server was really nice, so we asked for recommendations. He really pushed all the specials. So we got the sea bass, then we got that, I want to pronounce it right, orecchietta?
Arrabbiati?
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever.
All right.
Yeah, so that one was probably our second favorite. That was good too. But again, like a little more lacking in flavor than I would have expected.
But their gnocchi with the gorgonzola. Talk about it's
Right.
so flavorful. It's wonderful. Also, they have somebody back there in the kitchen that really knows what they're doing with risotto because it's always wonderful and
Which
I don't
isn't
think
always
risotto's
easy.
Right.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
always
No,
easy.
It's not always easy. I
It's
think
perfect. We ordered the porcini risotto.
Yes, that's what they had on the night we were there.
Yeah,
It was
which was delicious.
Yes,
And
lovely.
a table full of about 8 to 10 Italians came in, obviously an hour after we got there, which was at 8:30. So this was 9:30, which is the true sign of an actually Italian restaurant when people eat late. And they ordered the full size, either full size or family, like an out of this kitchen customized giant plate of
wow.
risotto, and it was the porcini. So we were very validated when they did that we ordered correctly, and it really was that was my favorite pasta.
Try the short ribs. They
Yeah.
have the Chianti, braised in Chianti.
Yeah, right.
And the polento's like this. It's just,
That sounds
Again, another thing that's not
Yes.
easy to do well, but,
Right.
but simple, but not easy
Yes,
to do
that's
well,
right.
which is what Italians specialize
And
in.
what
It's
a
simple
simple-
ingredients prepared well.
Yes.
It was surprisingly
So-
packed for a Wednesday night when I went. It was about like 80% full.
Wow.
See, and people look sharp. See, I
Yeah.
think what's happened is
Oh,
that
sure.
the Loop crowd, I think that they have discovered it. I have seen more suit jackets in Sofi
That's
than
interesting.
Yes.
Something I liked about that place was regarding service, something I'd never seen before was when we sat down, so we ordered We ordered like 2 appetizers, 2 entrees, and 2 pastas, and then the server asked if we had a lot of time or a little time, just to space out the dishes or not.
Sure.
So I thought that was very
Give
considerate.
you a dining experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. We went with my parents, God bless them, because they paid for it. And I went with my boyfriend, so there was 4 of us. But I sat down, we were a little bit late, and I just said I'd love a rosé. Done. So
Right.
it was nice that the waiter knew kind of what direction you were going toward in an extensive Italian menu with wine of what the heck to order.
What did you think of the price point? Daniel, I'm going to throw this to you.
I thought, I mean, I don't really go to many Italian restaurants, but I thought it was a little pricey. So on a Wednesday night, the bill was probably like 150, so that was a little on the pricier side.
Okay. What did you think, Claire?
The shareable pastas are really where it's at for me. I mean, we could have tried 4 pastas just on a date night with a few appetizers and gotten out of there for under $100, which really is probably not typically what you'd spend. You probably, like you're saying, you'd probably spend a little bit more than that. So it was nice to be able to do that and to still be able to try a lot of the menu.
If you just have a glass of wine
Right.
and a salad and one of the appetizers, or just a pasta course or a half a pasta course, it's not unreasonable. If you've decided to order the lamb chops after you've had all the other things,
which
you can run up a serious tab, and then you have to talk about dessert, because their desserts are fabulous. They have.
What's your favorite dessert?
The creme brulee is
I
should have gotten
absolutely perfect.
Well, Mary, you chose Sophie. Sum it up for us.
Refined Italian food in a lovely setting, an overall wonderful evening.
Great. Daniel?
I would say a great intimate place for a date night and authentic Italian food.
And Claire?
Laid back, but again, true Italian service and an overall great restaurant.
You can try the short ribs and more at Sofi, 616 South Dearborn Street, 312-753-5504. Open for dinner every night, reservations are accepted, and the average tab per person without drinks is $40. So on this week's show, we featured Forbidden Root in Westtown, Miss Saigon in Uptown, and Sophie in Printers Row. Let's recap what our guests had to say. First, we made our way to Chicago Avenue and ate at Forbidden Root. Claire recommends it for the unique botanical beers and cuisine to match. Mary loved trying the different brews and thought the food was wonderful. Daniel loved it and thoroughly enjoyed the beers. Next, we fled to Argyle Street and visited Miss Saigon. Daniel recommends it for the best fun Chicago and other authentic Vietnamese offerings. Mary enjoyed their simple yet delicious menu and thought the service was top-notch. Claire said it was a bang for her buck and was pleased with the food. Lastly, we drove to Dearborn and snacked at Sofi. Mary recommends it for their sophisticated Italian menu and professional waitstaff. Daniel appreciated the good service, but thought some of the dishes lacked flavor. Claire said the food was delicious and the service was perfect. We've had a wonderful time this week. I want to thank my guests, Claire Lane, Daniel Wen, and Mary Zavit. Join us next week for 3 new guests recommending 3 of their favorite restaurants right here on Check Please. I'm Catherine Diorio, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, guys. You made it.
For more information about the restaurants featured on Check Please, go to WTTW.com/checkplease.